Welcome to the new series of the North Thames Genomic Medicine Services Genomics Now podcast. This is our A Genomics Conversation With series, which is recorded in 2025. I'm Dr Fiona Calvert, the Comms and Engagement Lead for the North Thames Genomic Medicine Service, and I'm excited to be taking over the hosting reins for this new series. A Genomics Conversation With will focus on the power that open conversations hold in genomic medicine, whether that be in communities, between healthcare professionals, or with families. Throughout the series, we will feature conversations between members of our North Thames Genomic Medicine Service team and people whose lives have been impacted by genomics. In our first episode of the series, retired professional footballer Les Ferdinand talks about the importance of family history conversations in the Black community around prostate cancer. He's joined by two members of our team.
Hi, I'm Paul Ryves, and I am the Programme Director of the North Thames Genomic Medicine Service Alliance.
I'm Liz Bancroft, Chief Nurse of the North Thames Genomic Medicine Service Alliance, as well as a nurse consultant in oncogenetics at the Royal Marsden Hospital.
Thanks both for joining us for this episode. Paul, can I ask a little bit more about why conversations like the one that everyone is about to hear are so important?
Absolutely. So, as a genomic medicine service, we are really focusing on making sure that the right people are accessing the genomic testing they need at the right time in their clinical pathway. So, in the context of this conversation, we know that 1 in 4 Black men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer at some point in their life. So I think it's really important that we are talking to that group as a community about their family history and the impact that might have on their risk of having prostate cancer, but also what options there are for genomic testing. But I think, and I'm talking from a male perspective here as well, I think that it's really important that we allow that space and a safe space for men to talk about this potential risk within their sort of close communities and family and friends.
Yeah, that's such a fantastic point. We're talking about, those really wide communities. Liz, in your clinical role, you attend prostate cancer clinics and have done a lot of great work around community engagement. If people are listening into this episode, what's the kind of one thing that you'd like them to take away from the conversation they're about to hear?
So many things, but really it is that every patient is part of a community. And if we can remember that and empower the patients we see to talk about their family's risk of prostate cancer, then we can make sure that those who need it most have access.
Yeah, thanks so much both. And let's dive right into the episode.
So I'd like to offer a huge welcome to Les Ferdinand MBE to our very first A Genomics Conversation With podcast for the North Thames Genomic Medicine Service. It's very exciting to have you here with us today. Les is a retired English footballer who enjoyed a distinguished career as a forward, known for his physicality, speed and clinical finishing. He began his professional career at Queen's Park Rangers in the late 1980s and went on to play for several top clubs in the Premier League, including Newcastle United, Tottenham Hotspur and West Ham. His career accomplishments included scoring over 200 goals in club football, making him one of the most prolific strikers of his generation. Off the pitch, Les has been heavily involved in community work. He has used his profile to advocate for equality and diversity in football, often speaking out on issues such as racism and discrimination. He's also worked extensively with his charity, the Les Ferdinand Foundation, aimed at promoting opportunities for young people, particularly in underprivileged communities. Through the foundation, Les has supported initiatives in sports, education and personal development, helping to inspire and uplift the next generation. Les's legacy is not only marked by his sporting achievements, but also by his contributions to community development and his ongoing efforts to use his platform for positive social change. So, after that introduction, Les, I've got a few questions I'd like to ask you, if that's okay.
I say thank you for that tremendous introduction and that warm welcome. Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm really excited to have this opportunity to chat to you today. In my day-to-day job, I work very closely with patients and families affected by prostate cancer. And I know that you have a really close connection with this subject. And so would you mind starting by giving us a little bit of a background of your experience in this area?
Yeah, in terms of prostate cancer, my grandfather died and when he died, he had prostate cancer in his system. My dad's had prostate cancer, and my uncles as well one of my uncles has had it, and both my uncle and my dad are recovered from it. Unfortunately, my granddad died with it in his system. I'm not saying that was the contributing factor to his dying, but he had it in his system when he died. And so I became pretty aware of it in probably it was about 97, 98 when I was kind of like made aware of it. And at Tottenham, we had a sports scientist called Kool-Aid at the time who said to me, look, now that this is prevalent in your family, you know this is in the history of your family, you can do things to help make sure that you're on top of testing, on top of what you eat, how you eat, and what you drink, and all that sort of stuff, and kind of like really opened my thought process to prostate cancer. In the past, I probably never thought about it like most young men. We just you get on with life until it happens to you, or you know someone that it happens to, and that it's become more and more prevalent as I've got older.
Mm. Thank you very much for sharing that. I think it's a really common topic in particularly the Black community of knowing about family members and the past generations, and then thinking about what that means for the next generations down. Can I ask, when you hear the words genetics, what are your first thoughts?
When I heard genetics, are probably my first thoughts are sort of like family history and what goes on and where it comes from, and that thread that goes right through your family. Basically, when people talk about genetics, that's what I think about. It's when I say prevalent in your family, whatever your genetics are growing up. My dad was quite physical, well built, blah blah blah, and I feel like I've got his genetics. If that makes sense, that's how I look at genetics.
Absolutely, no, that's fantastic. Thank you. So obviously you've described to us your personal experience with prostate cancer in the family, and you've talked a little bit about the conversations you've had already with your advisor about lifestyle factors. But do you think an easy explanation has ever been offered to you and your family about the connection between genetics, prostate cancer, and having that family history?
In all honesty, I'd have to say no. I think over the years it's become more prevalent, and it's a conversation that we're having more and more. In the past, it was kind of like a bit of a taboo subject, because I think the idea of the procedures that went with it in terms of testing, people didn't want to talk about, and had some ideas about what that would entail and how it would be perceived, you having those tests, and so for a long time we stayed ignorant about it, especially in the black community, in terms of what it meant. And loads of people have lost their lives based on that, and the fact that people have been ignorant to, my granddad never spoke about it. My granddad had it, never spoke about it, and I don't know whether that was because he didn't know about it, or whether it was just because, as I've said, especially in the Caribbean community, the subject has been quite taboo.
I've certainly heard that a lot from other people, that the thought of some of the investigations that go alongside prostate cancer, and just not wanting to go there has been a real obstacle to overcome. With your experience in the dressing room as a professional footballer, how was men's health discussed amongst your teammates, and any other health challenges that the players might have faced off the field? Was that something that was brought into the dressing room and talked about?
No, not a lot. Everyone was readily able to talk about injuries that may have occurred on the football pitch or off the football pitch where it was. But if it was an injury that sort of like the physios could treat, that was kind of like the only things that were really spoken about in the dressing room. And like I said, back in the day, if you had a problem, everyone was like, man up, get on with it, blah blah blah. I never ever came across anybody in the changing rooms, and forgive me because I'm trying to think back here, but I don't think there was ever a discussion about prostate cancer, or check your testicles or anything like that. That came much later in sort of like, as I was nearing the end of my career, people started to talk about these things. But if someone ever had testicular cancer, in my career, probably one person that I remember the conversation being talked about, and everyone quite shocked about it, but everyone thinking this is a one in 100 million sort of like situation, whereas we now know today that that's not the case.
Brings me on nicely. Do you think conversations and awareness about health have actually improved now for more current modern day footballers?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. There's things that were, as I said, we wouldn't speak about, I wouldn't say taboo in the dressing room, but you just never spoke about them. But today, like, people talk about mental health, which was never spoken about when, like I said, we just told you, man up and get on with whatever was going on in your life. If people were suffering depression, alcoholism, whatever it was, people were like, oh, no, just man up. You're a footballer, you're earning good money, you should be okay, you know what I mean? So, but these subjects are being spoken about now, and fortunately, prostate cancer and stuff is being spoken about, which can only be a good thing.
Would you feel like comfortable talking to your family about your like genetic history in terms of, you've kind of pointed out in terms of that prostate, and what you talked about today is really, really helpful and amazing. And I just think, where's your comfort level sit with that in terms of that sort of conversation with your family, perhaps?
No, and I think it's a good question, because I speak to all my cousins. I speak to my son, and I talk about it because I know how important it is, and I think these conversations now are much easier to have. I think in the past no one spoke about it, but the fact that we know people that have had prostate cancer who've recovered from it and have had the operation, it's easier to talk about, and it's out there now, and it's a lot more people are talking about it, and we need to keep that conversation going. So yeah, I'm always saying to my cousins, are you getting yourselves checked and so on, especially
that's really good. I mean, I totally recognise your comments earlier about the whole man up thing, and having played football, not at your level obviously, but but that sort of conversation often happens about, just go sort it out, just man up, and you'll sort it out as your bloke. You need to be strong. So I think it's really, really kind of empathise with that comment you said earlier, and I think it's really breaking down that barrier.
And that man up comment is normally based around, there's nothing wrong with you. So what happens is, I just man up means there's nothing wrong with you. So whatever symptoms you're feeling, you feel, oh no, maybe that's what it used to be in the past. Now, most clubs carry 24-hour doctors with them. So doctors are there 7 days a week, whereas when I played football, the doctor used to come in a couple of times a week and at a game, whereas the doctor's there 24/7. You can contact him whenever you want to now. So I think in terms of football clubs, that part has improved. So if players do have any problems, they can see their doctors there, and then the advice that those doctors give is pretty spot on.
Yeah, but I think there's that, but there's that whole family history side is really important as well. And I think the fact that you've said that and you talk to your cousins, etc., is excellent, because I think that's what we're really trying to get, that sort of conversation in the community.
Yeah, and if there's other ways, then that's information that needs to get out there. That's information we need.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I speak to my cousins based on what's happened in the family, and as I said, Brenda died, and no one spoke about it. None of my dad's brothers or sisters spoke about it. I was the only one speaking about it, and I've come out on there, and a couple of my aunties have said to me, "Oh, that's really good." And one of my aunties is a nurse. She's been a nurse all her life. I go, well, why aren't you talking about it? Why aren't you telling everyone they need to do it? You know what I mean? So it is sometimes a very difficult conversation in the Caribbean community, but it's one that needs to be had. And the more guys that I see of my age and a little bit older who talk about it now and freely talk about it, is better.
Yeah, and I think the fact you're talking to it about your son as well, and it's that next generation down and that risk. So I think that's what we're trying to do as a genomics team, is kind of how do we kind of get those conversations going, both in the community and with actually quite, thinking it back to what you just said about your auntie who's a nurse as well. Like, we still need to educate the wider healthcare workforce around genomics as well, and how, having that sort of think about how taking their family history as well. It's of their patients, should I say. So yeah, no, it's really that kind of brings it kind of home a bit, I think.
I think a lot of what you shared will really resonate with a lot of people, particularly about the family story and your lived experience and how you've taken that forward with your next generation. So I think that will be really, really important and resonate with a lot of people. So really thank you for sharing that experience with us.
I hope it is useful going forward.
A huge thank you, Liz, Paul, and of course Les Ferdinand, for such an open and honest conversation to kick off this series of our podcast. And thanks to you for listening to the first episode of our A Genomics Conversation With series. Keep an eye out on our channel for future episodes and head to our website or LinkedIn channel for more genomics content. Just search for North Thames Genomic Medicine Service.